In a historic and far-reaching decision, the Supreme Court has sharply limited the president's power to use the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEEPA, to impose tariffs on what it called routine international trade. This ruling is being hailed as one of the most significant checks on executive authority in recent memory, with immediate and long-term implications for how the United States conducts its economic policy on the world stage. The ruling directly challenges President Trump's America First trade doctrine, invalidating a series of tariffs and fundamentally shifting the balance of economic policy and presidential authority. For years, the White House has used emergency powers to justify sweeping trade actions, often bypassing traditional checks and balances. The case, American Importers Association vs. Besant, questioned whether the president could declare national emergencies to justify tariffs on goods from allies. The plaintiffs argued that such actions undermined established trade relationships and created uncertainty for American businesses. Critics argued this was an overreach, bypassing Congress's constitutional authority to regulate commerce. Lawmakers from both parties expressed concern that the executive branch was accumulating too much unchecked power over the nation's economic future. Today, the court sided with those critics, reaffirming the separation of powers and setting a new precedent for presidential limits. The justices emphasized that the Constitution grants Congress, not the president, the primary authority to regulate trade. The decision immediately voids Trump's latest tariff threats, including those tied to his controversial campaign to purchase Greenland. It also casts doubt on the future of other executive actions taken under the guise of economic emergency. The court's message is clear: presidential power, even under the guise of national security, is not without limits. The ruling sends a strong signal to future administrations about the boundaries of executive action. This ruling forces a dramatic recalculation within the White House and reasserts Congress's role in trade policy. Advisors and lawmakers alike are now re-examining how future trade disputes and emergencies will be handled. It marks a turning point in the ongoing debate over executive authority in the 21st century, and will likely shape the contours of American governance and global economic relations for years to come. The Supreme Court case was triggered by President Trump's recent announcement of sweeping tariffs on key European allies, a move that sent shockwaves through diplomatic and economic circles in both the United States and Europe. The new tariffs targeted major economies including Denmark, Germany, and the UK, all of which are crucial partners in both trade and security alliances. These tariffs, set to escalate from 10% to 25%, were explicitly linked to Trump's renewed push to purchase Greenland, a move he framed as a national security imperative and a bold step in reshaping America's global influence. The administration argued that acquiring Greenland was vital to counter Russia and China in the Arctic, using tariffs as leverage against Denmark and its neighbors. The Arctic's strategic value, with its untapped resources and new shipping lanes, made it a focal point of great power competition. This aggressive use of economic policy for territorial ambitions drew immediate condemnation from European leaders, who warned it would damage transatlantic relations and undermine decades of cooperation. The move was seen as a direct challenge to the post-war order. Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio scrambled to contain the fallout, meeting urgently with Danish and Greenlandic officials in hopes of easing tensions and preventing a diplomatic rupture. While a working group was formed to discuss Greenland's future and explore possible compromises, tensions remained high, with both sides wary of each other's intentions and the broader implications for international law. The episode highlighted the core issue before the court: whether emergency economic powers could be used for broad geopolitical goals far beyond traditional trade disputes, and if the president's authority could extend into fundamentally new territory. The boundaries of presidential authority were being tested as never before, raising profound questions about the balance of power, the limits of executive action, and the future of American foreign policy. At the center of the controversy is the IEEPA, a law meant to let presidents respond to extraordinary threats, not to manage everyday trade. Traditionally, IEEPA was used for targeted sanctions against hostile states, not sweeping tariffs on allies. President Trump's administration reinterpreted the law, declaring national emergencies to justify broad tariffs and bypass Congress. This expansion triggered a legal challenge from importers and constitutional scholars, who argued that only Congress can regulate foreign commerce. The Supreme Court was asked, does IEEPA allow the president to impose tariffs on routine trade? Plaintiffs insisted the law was never meant to hand over such sweeping power. The case forced the justices to confront the limits of executive authority and the risk of turning emergency powers into a tool for everyday policy. The outcome would redefine the architecture of American governance. In court, the Trump administration defended its tariffs as vital for national security, arguing that modern threats require presidential flexibility. Officials claimed IEEPA's broad language justified decisive action against economic vulnerabilities and foreign trade practices. Critics countered that the administration was manufacturing emergencies to push a protectionist agenda Congress would never approve. They warned this undermined the Constitution's clear grant of tariff authority to Congress, risking an imperial presidency. Wall Street and public opinion largely expected the court to rule against the administration, citing the economic chaos caused by the tariffs. Protests and market turmoil underscored the stakes as the nation awaited the court's decision. The legal debate was about more than tariffs. It was about the future of checks and balances. The suspense ended with a 6-3 Supreme Court decision against the Trump administration, sharply narrowing the president's use of IEEPA. Chief Justice Roberts wrote that IEEPA does not give the executive a blank check to rewrite tariff policy. The court distinguished between targeted sanctions and broad tariffs, ruling that Congress alone sets duties on everyday goods. The majority found that using emergency powers for long-term goals like buying Greenland stretched the law beyond its intent. The decision reasserted judicial oversight, stating not every foreign policy aim can be recast as a national emergency. In dissent, Justice Alito warned the ruling would weaken the executive, but the majority's view prevailed. The ruling stands as a landmark check on presidential power. It curtails a key tool of the Trump presidency and sets a new legal precedent. The Supreme Court's decision sparked immediate relief on Wall Street, with markets surging as fears of a trade war with Europe faded. Investors were quick to respond, driving up stock prices across various sectors. European leaders welcomed the ruling as a victory for the rule of law and a chance to reset transatlantic relations. This decision was seen as a pivotal moment to strengthen diplomatic ties. Diplomatically, the decision de-escalated a crisis, allowing talks on Greenland and trade to proceed more constructively. Negotiations that had been stalled could now move forward. Inside the White House, President Trump denounced the ruling as political and vowed to continue his trade agenda. He emphasized his commitment to protecting American interests. Administration officials quickly announced plans to pursue tariffs using other legal authorities, signaling the fight was far from over. The administration's resolve to impose tariffs remained strong. The administration is expected to pivot to statutes like Section 232 and Section 301, which allow tariffs on national security or unfair trade grounds. These statutes provide a legal framework for new trade measures. The immediate fallout is a mix of market optimism, diplomatic relief, and a White House preparing for the next round. The administration is gearing up for further legal battles. The Supreme Court has closed one door, but the administration is determined to find another. They are exploring all possible avenues to achieve their trade goals. The battle over tariffs and presidential power continues. The coming months will be crucial in shaping the future of U.S. trade policy. The court's ruling forces a major shift in Trump's America First trade strategy, ending the era of unilateral tariffs under IEEPA. The threat of tariffs tied to Greenland is gone, easing tensions with Europe and opening the door to renewed diplomacy. While tariffs remain central to the administration's agenda, future actions will rely on narrower, more legally complex statutes. This means more procedural hurdles and likely more litigation, slowing the pace of new tariffs. The administration must now build detailed cases for each action rather than acting by emergency decree. The ruling may restore more traditional negotiation and cooperation in U.S.-Europe relations. The goal of protecting American industries remains, but the methods must change. The judiciary has ended the era of tariff by tweet. The Supreme Court's decision marks a new chapter in the struggle over trade and presidential power. The administration will seek new legal avenues for tariffs, likely sparking further legal and political battles. Congress, newly empowered, may act to clarify or limit presidential authority over trade. The ruling is a powerful check on the imperial presidency, reaffirming that emergency powers are the exception, not the rule. Future presidents are on notice. The judiciary will scrutinize claims of emergency and enforce constitutional limits. The decision reshapes the balance of power and sets a precedent for decades to come. While the trade war's future is uncertain, the rules of engagement have changed. The nation now enters a period of recalibration, with Congress, the courts, and the White House all vying to define America's trade policy.